The world doesn't follow the truth. It follows the one who looks most certain. Confidence isn't born, it's built, and once you build it, no one can stop you. Fear makes you ordinary. Detachment from fear makes you untouchable. Confidence is a weapon of perception, not just a feeling. This is the first truth you must understand if you wish to carry yourself with presence that cannot be ignored. Too many people think of confidence as a mood, something that appears on good days and vanishes on bad ones. They imagine it as a fragile flame inside them, easily blown out by failure, rejection, or criticism. But this is a mistake. Confidence is not about what you feel in the secret corners of your mind. It is about what you project into the eyes of others. It is perception, not emotion. When people see you, they do not see your inner doubts, your late-night anxieties, or the endless arguments you have with yourself. They see only what you choose to display. And here lies the secret. What they see is often more important than what is actually true. If you walk into a room with hesitation in your shoulders, your words half swallowed, your gaze lowered, you will be read as weak, even if you are the most intelligent person present. But if you walk into that same room with your head high, your words steady, your presence unwavering, people will assume you are powerful, even if inside you are trembling. Perception shapes reality, and confidence is the tool that allows you to bend perception in your favor. Think of history's leaders. Rarely were they flawless or free of fear. Many were plagued with uncertainty behind closed doors. Yet when they stood before the world, they appeared unshakable. Julius Caesar did not conquer because he was fearless, but because he understood that fear must be masked beneath an armor of certainty. Napoleon was not the tallest, nor the strongest, but he carried himself as if he were destined to command, and that perception made others fall in line. Machiavelli studied men like these, and recognized a crucial law. It is not always the strongest who win, but the one who seems most sure of his own power. Perception is more contagious than truth. People are drawn to those who look as if they know where they are going, even if they do not. They trust decisiveness over brilliance, certainty over doubt. This is why confidence can be weaponized. It makes others lower their guard, surrender their judgment, and follow where they might otherwise resist. A person who doubts himself but appears certain can outmaneuver a person who knows more but appears unsure. Confidence tilts the balance in your favor before a word is spoken, before a fact is tested. When you understand this, confidence stops being a fragile feeling and becomes something you can deliberately craft. You no longer wait for it to appear, you forge it, sharpen it, wield it. You learn to stand, speak, and move in ways that communicate certainty, even when uncertainty lives inside you. And here lies the transformation. The more you project confidence, the more others respond to it, and the more their response convinces you of its truth. What begins as a weapon of perception slowly becomes part of your reality. You start to believe in yourself, because others believe in you, and a cycle of power is born. Confidence is not about erasing fear. It is about refusing to let fear write your script. It is about detaching from the inner voices that whisper hesitation, and instead amplifying the signals that broadcast strength. Every gesture, every pause, every tone of voice becomes a tool of influence. People will measure you not by your hidden insecurities, but by the certainty you dare to display. And in a world where so many drown in hesitation, the one who shows dangerous confidence becomes like a beacon, magnetic, unshakable, impossible to ignore. People follow certainty more than they follow truth, and this is one of the most unsettling but liberating realities of human nature. We are trained to believe that people are moved by facts, by evidence, by rational explanations, but history and daily life reveal otherwise. The masses are not guided by truth. They are guided by the appearance of confidence, by conviction delivered with unwavering force. The truth is often heavy, complicated, and difficult to digest, while certainty is simple, clear, and easy to follow. This is why the voice that declares boldly will always be louder in people's hearts than the whisper that speaks facts with hesitation. When Machiavelli observed power, he saw that leaders do not win followers because they are always right. They win because they present themselves as if they could never be wrong. That appearance of certainty is enough to turn ordinary men into commanders, and hesitant crowds into loyal armies. Think of the difference between a scientist explaining the complexities of a problem and a charismatic speaker offering a simple but certain solution. The scientist may be closer to truth, but he may sound unsure, tangled in details, cautious in language. The speaker, though lacking depth, delivers his words like thunder, without doubt or hesitation. Who will the crowd follow? Almost always it is the one who shows no cracks in their certainty. People are drawn to what feels strong, not necessarily what is true. They crave clarity more than accuracy, direction more than details. Certainty offers them the comfort of believing that someone knows the way, even if that path leads into darkness. This is not new. Human beings have always gathered around those who seem sure of themselves. In times of crisis, people do not look for the person with the most carefully reasoned explanation. They look for the one who exudes calm and control, the one who acts decisively, the one who refuses to tremble. Machiavelli would argue that truth has little weight in the arena of power, unless it is dressed in certainty. The truth may exist in the background, but without certainty it lies unused, unnoticed, powerless. Certainty, on the other hand, can give even a false idea the force of a movement. Look through the corridors of history, and you will see countless examples. Leaders, rulers, and even deceivers have bent the will of millions not by possessing truth, but by wielding certainty. Religious figures, political revolutionaries, generals and kings, all of them understood that people yearn for conviction more than evidence. A ruler who says, "I think this may be the right path," will be ignored, while a ruler who says this is the only path will be followed. It matters little that the first is more truthful. What matters is that the second speaks with unshakable certainty. Truth is fragile without confidence to carry it, but certainty is heavy enough to move nations, even when it rests on illusion. This is why confidence is dangerous. It allows one to control perception. Most people do not test every claim they hear. They do not investigate every word to uncover its truth. They are too distracted, too overwhelmed, or too trusting. Instead, they measure the strength of the claim by the strength of the person making it. If the voice shakes, the claim feels weak. If the eyes waver, the idea feels uncertain. But if the speaker stands tall, speaks firm, and leaves no room for doubt, then the claim feels true, even if it is not. Truth becomes less about reality and more about performance. The leader who understands this can bend crowds with nothing but the tone of his conviction. This does not mean that truth is irrelevant. It simply means that truth, without certainty, is like a blade without a handle. It has power, but it cannot be wielded. To make truth effective, it must be delivered with the same confidence as falsehood. You must not only know, but also appear to know. You must not only speak truth, but speak it in a way that radiates certainty, as though no alternative exists. This is how truth survives in a world that instinctively bows to confidence. Those who cling to truth, without understanding perception, often end up frustrated, wondering why their facts are ignored, while louder voices rise to power. The answer is simple. People follow certainty more than they follow truth. At the heart of this lies fear. Human beings fear uncertainty more than they fear lies. The truth often admits uncertainty, because reality itself is uncertain, but certainty erases that fear with its boldness. It says, "Do not worry, I know the way, follow me." People will cling to that voice even when evidence warns them otherwise, because certainty gives them something truth rarely offers: peace of mind. The mind prefers a strong illusion over a weak reality, and those who project certainty tap into that weakness of human psychology. Machiavelli saw it clearly: power belongs not to the most truthful, but to the most certain. If you want influence, you must learn this art. Do not waste your strength on proving you are right if you cannot also make people feel you are right. Present yourself with confidence that silences doubt, that leaves no space for hesitation. If you believe in truth, then carry it as though it were undeniable. If you do not know the truth, then still carry yourself with composure, for people will forgive error more easily than they forgive weakness. To stumble with certainty is to remain respected. To hesitate with truth is to be dismissed. This is the cruel paradox of perception. The lesson, then, is not to abandon truth, but to elevate certainty above it in the hierarchy of influence. Use truth when you can, but deliver it with the armor of conviction. Let your words be carried by certainty, your posture signal authority, your silence radiate confidence. Remember, people are not always searching for truth. They are searching for someone who seems to know, and once they find that someone, they will follow, often without question. To master certainty is to master people, and to master people is to master power. Machiavelli's wisdom reminds us that truth is weak without confidence, but confidence, whether rooted in truth or not, has the power to rule. Detachment from fear makes you appear untouchable. And in a world where most people are prisoners of their anxieties, this is one of the most powerful weapons you can possess. Fear is the invisible chain that binds human beings, the hidden hand that controls decisions, weakens voices, and shrinks possibilities. People fear failure, fear judgment, fear rejection, fear loss. This fear shows itself in their faces, their voices, their posture. It leaks through hesitation, through nervous words, through the inability to act when action is demanded. But the one who learns to detach from fear, who no longer trembles under its weight, suddenly becomes larger than life. To the crowd, such a person does not seem ordinary anymore. They appear elevated, as if some shield protects them from the insecurities that plague everyone else. And because people cannot understand how someone could act without fear, they begin to see them as untouchable. Machiavelli understood that power is not always about strength or intelligence, but about perception. If others believe you cannot be shaken, then you already possess an advantage greater than brute force. Fearlessness, or even the appearance of it, creates an aura of mystery and authority. When an enemy threatens you and you do not flinch, it unsettles them. When life throws obstacles at you and you move with composure, people wonder what secret strength you carry. Detachment from fear gives the impression of invulnerability, and people are drawn to that. They follow it, they respect it, and they hesitate to challenge it. Most people are ruled by fear, and because they assume everyone else must be as well. So when they encounter someone who behaves as though fear has no hold on them, it unsettles their entire understanding of the world. Imagine a battlefield. One soldier trembles at every noise, his hands shaking, his steps hesitant. Another soldier walks calmly, his eyes steady, as if death itself cannot intimidate him. Which one will inspire the men around him? Which one will others follow, even if they do not consciously know why? The fearless man becomes larger than himself. He becomes a symbol of strength, and even if he feels fear in his heart, his detachment from displaying it makes him seem untouchable. Detachment from fear does not mean recklessness. It does not mean ignoring danger or pretending that threats do not exist. It means accepting that fear will always be present, but refusing to allow it to dictate your behavior. The lion feels fear before the hunt, but he does not hesitate. The leader feels fear before a decision, but he does not waver. What matters is not the absence of fear, but the ability to move forward, as if fear has no power. The moment you stop showing fear, you create the illusion that you have mastered it, and that illusion makes you appear superhuman in the eyes of others. Think of the great figures of history and myth, who seemed untouchable. Alexander the Great was not taller or stronger than the men who followed him, but he carried himself with an air of fearlessness that convinced his soldiers he was chosen by destiny. Marcus Aurelius, though surrounded by enemies and burdened by the weight of empire, maintained a calm detachment that made him seem beyond ordinary human weakness. Even spiritual leaders, from prophets to sages, often inspire devotion, not because they wielded weapons or armies, but because they walked among men as though untouched by fear of death or suffering. This detachment gave them an aura of the divine, an impression of being untouchable. In daily life, the same law applies. The person who does not flinch when insulted, who does not panic when plans collapse, who does not tremble in the face of authority, always gains the upper hand. Fearless composure is rare, and because it is rare, it is mistaken for strength beyond measure. When your enemies try to provoke you, and you respond with silence instead of anger, they grow uneasy. When uncertainty rattles everyone else, and you remain calm, people look to you for guidance. This is not because you have more truth or more ability, but because your detachment from fear makes you appear unshakable. Machiavelli would argue that fear is one of the strongest levers of control, but he would also note that the one who resists it becomes immune to manipulation. When you are no longer controlled by fear of loss, others cannot bribe you. When you are no longer ruled by fear of judgment, others cannot shame you. When you are no longer paralyzed by fear of failure, others cannot stop you from acting bold. Detachment from fear strips your enemies of their weapons. It removes the hooks they use to pull you down. It makes you a player who cannot be played, a piece on the board that cannot be moved against its will. This does not mean that the fearless person wins every battle. It means that win or lose, they retain an aura of authority, because they never show weakness. Even in defeat, they walk with composure, and in doing so, they rob their enemies of satisfaction. To others, this calm endurance looks like invincibility. They seem untouchable, not because nothing can harm them, but because nothing seems to shake them. And perception, once again, becomes more powerful than truth. The irony is that detachment from fear does not only convince others, it begins to convince yourself. By acting as if you are unafraid, you begin to feel less fear. By refusing to bow to anxiety, your mind begins to obey your actions. Fear thrives when it is displayed, but when you deny it visibility, it starts to wither. Slowly the mask of fearlessness becomes real, and you transform into the person you once only pretended to be. This is how dangerous confidence is built, by detaching from fear, until both others and you yourself believe that you are beyond its grasp. Fear is the prison, where most people live their entire lives. Detachment is the key that opens the door, the one who walks freely outside of it, who shows that they are not ruled by the same chains, instantly stands above the crowd. People may envy them, admire them, or fear them, but they cannot ignore them. To appear untouchable is to command respect without asking, to dominate without lifting a hand. And it all begins with detachment from fear, the silent force that turns ordinary men into leaders and vulnerable hearts into figures of power. Machiavelli's wisdom shows that confidence can be engineered, not just inherited, and this idea carries more power than almost any other when it comes to shaping your destiny. Too many people believe that confidence is a gift, something some are born with, while others are condemned to live without. They imagine it as a natural trait, like height or eye color, given at birth, and unchangeable. But this is a myth, one that keeps countless people chained to insecurity, while convincing them there is nothing they can do about it. Machiavelli, the sharp observer of human nature, knew that confidence was not a blessing reserved for the chosen few. It was a mask, a performance, a tool that anyone could build and wield with deliberate practice. Confidence is not inherited, it is constructed, piece by piece, until it becomes as natural as breathing. The essence of Machiavelli's thinking in The Prince was not that rulers had to be perfect, noble or fearless, but that they had to appear that way. Appearances, he insisted, mattered more than inner reality. If a ruler seemed confident, decisive, and strong, people would believe it, and belief was enough to create power. This insight strips away the illusion that only those who feel confident can lead. In truth, many of history's most commanding figures were riddled with doubts and insecurities. What separated them from the rest was their ability to craft the appearance of certainty, to engineer confidence so convincingly that both their followers and their enemies believed in. Over time, this appearance hardens into reality. Pretending to be confident long enough teaches you to actually be confident. What begins as an act becomes part of your nature. Engineering confidence begins with behavior, not with feeling. You do not wait until you feel ready to speak. You speak, and allow readiness to follow. You do not wait until fear vanishes. You act as though it already happened. The posture, the voice, the decisiveness, the composure, all of these external signals reshape not only how others see you, but how you begin to see yourself. If you stand tall, hold eye contact, and speak with conviction, people respond to you differently. They treat you as though you are confident, and their reaction reinforces your role. Suddenly, you are no longer pretending, you are living. Machiavelli would argue that the appearance of confidence is enough to command loyalty and respect, but the deeper truth is that this appearance also rewires the mind of the one wearing it. Consider how actors step into role. A timid man once placed in the costume of a king, and given the lines of authority, begins to feel something shift within him. The body responds to its own performance. The mind begins to align with the act. This is how confidence is engineered. By deliberately adopting the behaviors of certainty, you trick both others and yourself into believing in your strength. Over time, the act becomes reality. The mask fuses with the face. What was once engineered is now natural. This process is available to anyone, not only the bold by birth. Machiavelli knew that fortune favors the bold, but he also knew boldness could be learned. If you want to appear untouchable, you must act untouchable. If you want to appear fearless, you must refuse to show fear. If you want to appear decisive, you must cut through hesitation with firm choices. Every gesture becomes training, every word a rehearsal. Confidence is a skill, and like any skill, it sharpens with practice. The more you act in ways that project it, the more it becomes real. Those who imagine confidence as a natural gift are mistaken. Those who realize it can be engineered hold the keys to transformation. Look at the most powerful leaders across history. Many of them began with nothing but a dream, yet they carried themselves as though they were destined to rule. That posture, that projection, convinced others, long before circumstances matched their ambitions. Caesar acted as though Rome was already his, before it truly was. Napoleon carried himself as emperor in his heart before he ever wore the crown. These men engineered their confidence deliberately, and that construction drew people to them.
giving them opportunities that eventually made their inner reality match their outer projection. Confidence became both the seed and the fruit of their power. In everyday life, this principle is just as true. The student who speaks with certainty, even when unsure, gains more respect than the one who mumbles the right answer with hesitation. The professional who makes a decision firmly, even if it later proves imperfect, inspires more trust than the one who endlessly hesitates. People crave the assurance of confidence because it simplifies the chaos of life. If you can engineer it, you can become a magnet for trust, influence, and authority. The truth of your inner doubts matters less than the image you project outward, and in projecting confidence long enough, your doubts slowly lose their grip. Detachment from the idea that confidence must feel real before it can be expressed is critical. Machiavelli would insist that you must act first, and allow feeling to follow. Wait for confidence to arrive naturally, and you may wait forever. Build it with conscious performance, and you will grow into it sooner than you think. This is why confidence is not inherited, but engineered. The shyest, most hesitant person can transform into a figure of authority if they understand this law. It is not a question of fate, but of discipline. Discipline to carry yourself as if you already possess the power you seek. There is also a darker, sharper edge to this wisdom. If confidence can be engineered, then it can be weaponized. You can project authority even when you lack knowledge. You can silence rivals, not by being right, but by appearing more certain. You can manipulate the perceptions of crowds by offering clarity where others offer hesitation. This does not mean abandoning truth, but it does mean recognizing that truth alone is not enough. Without confidence to carry it, truth will be ignored. With engineered confidence, even a half-truth can command the loyalty of thousands. This is why Machiavelli's wisdom is both feared and respected. It reveals that human beings are more easily ruled by appearances than by reality. To engineer confidence is to free yourself from the prison of self-doubt. It is to understand that confidence is not magic, not inheritance, not divine gift. It is a craft, a construction, a performance, turned habit. If you walk as though you belong, speak as though your words matter, and hold yourself as though you cannot be shaken, people will believe it, and when enough people believe it, you will begin to believe it too. Machiavelli's genius was in showing that power is not reserved for the few born with natural dominance. It can be seized by anyone who learns to construct the illusion of certainty, until that illusion hardens into reality. Confidence then is not fate, it is strategy, and the one who understands this can rise above those who wait their whole lives for belief to come naturally. In the end, the lesson is clear: the world is not shaped by truth alone, but by the power of perception, and confidence is the force that bends that perception to your will. To master confidence is to master the art of appearing unshakable when others tremble, decisive when others hesitate, fearless when others falter. People follow certainty more than they follow truth, and the moment you detach from fear, you rise above the doubts and insecurities that hold everyone else hostage. Machiavelli's wisdom shows us that confidence is not a birthright, but a weapon anyone can forge, a mask that once worn long enough, fuses with your very identity, until it becomes real. To wield this power is to make yourself untouchable, not because you are free from fear or failure, but because you refuse to bow to them. Dangerous confidence is not recklessness, it is strategy, composure, and mastery of perception. And when you carry it with discipline, you no longer wait for the world to recognize your strength, you compel it.